Hi, welcome to the International Space Station Flight Control Room. I understand today we are talking with students from the Clark Creek STEM Academy. Welcome, students. I have a special treat because I understand you guys have a lot of questions about living and working aboard the International Space Station. And today's guest has certainly done
I've
that.
done that.
Astronaut Mike Fossum. He is a veteran of 3 space flights. His most recent flight, he was the commander of Expedition 29. Welcome, Mike, and thank you for joining us
Hi,
today.
Miko. It's great to be back in Mission Control and great to be talking to the students from Clark Creek STEM Academy.
Great. So, with that, we're ready for your questions.
Okay, great. Thank you. Go ahead.
Has your Boy Scout training helped you as an astronaut? If yes, how?
Oh, great question. My Boy Scout training helped me learn how to work as a part of a team because in scouting, you work as small groups of teams, uh, and you do different things. And it's in ways it's kind of the same thing here. Indeed, as I lived on the space station, I slept in a sleeping bag for 6 months, and so in some ways it was kind of like camping out for 6 months at a time. You also learn self-reliance, how to take care of yourself in a lot of different ways, from preparing food to simple first aid, and we certainly used all of those skills living in space.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Um, what skills did you learn as an Eagle Scout that helped you as a NASA scientist or as an engineer?
I learned how a lot of different things work as I was in scouting in my youth and working toward being an Eagle Scout. Another part of it that we learned was taking the big trips as you get to be an older scout, or older youth in different programs too, to do big trips where you'd go on long trips, a week or more, into the mountains, into the wilderness area, canoeing on rivers and things, and that gives you a different mindset as you escape the normal world that which involves televisions and air conditioners and all those kind of things, and living more on your own resources in a different environment. And whether that different environment is a place in the deep forest or a place in outer space, it's still an adaptation that you have to do as you learn to rely on each other and learn on your training to be successful.
Great. So you would recommend Boy Scouts and becoming an Eagle Scout as good preparation to become a NASA astronaut?
Scouting was certainly a great path for me, and it is for many other people in a lot of different ways. So sure, I recommend the Scouting program, and the Girl Scouting program and the Venture program for older students are good opportunities to learn different skills and learn the really critical teamwork and responsibility type skills.
Are you still eligible for space flight?
Yes, I am. Thank you for asking. I'm still an active astronaut, and I'm still training. I'm back in line, and hope to go again someday. I've worked very hard to get to this place, and I think I got another flight left in me.
Okay.
Are there any plans to construct another Kepler type telescope? If so, where and when?
Oh, oh, the space telescopes. We don't have any more missions to go repair or work on any of those telescopes. There are some big telescopes, if I'm catching the question correct. The human spaceflight program is kind of separate from our telescope programs these days. The Hubble Space Telescope is the most famous one, of course, and we sent several space shuttle crews to visit the Hubble Space Telescope to help do some maintenance and some repairs to that to extend its lifetime for a long time. But those discoveries that are being made through the Hubble Space Telescope being the most famous, and the other observatory scopes is a separate kind of program.
Excellent question. We have another one?
What is the status of your skeletal system since logging so many space miles?
Well, believe it or not, I came, after my last flight. I lived in space about 5.5 months, and thanks to some really good medicine and really good exercise machines and programs that we did in space, I came home with very very little change to my skeleton system as well as my muscles. So, and my cardiovascular system. So my bones were healthy, my muscles were healthy, and my heart and lungs working together for the cardiovascular system also was came back in great shape. Now I worked very hard. I worked out 6 days a week on orbit, and I worked hard during those workouts. And that's really exciting news, and it's kind of new because we have some new exercise equipment up there that allows us to get some really good exercise and put the stress on that skeleton so you maintain your bone strength. And that's important someday when when you're on the way to Mars and back again and you want to come home healthy.
And that's a great question. And also, in addition to just exercise, as we know, even here on Earth, diet and exercise combined are very important. And so, one of a couple of research things that they're doing now is looking at nutrition as well to help mitigate those effects.
Oh, they've definitely
So,
found that the food we eat makes a big difference in our bone health also, especially when we're up there. And one big example that the nutrition people told me beforehand was be sure you eat fish a few times a week because the fish and the fish oils end up being really important for bone health, and they don't completely understand why. At least I don't understand why, so I can't explain it to you. But eating that good diet with lots of good meat and vegetables, fresh vegetables and fruits and stuff, as well as the exercise, all work together to make your body stronger here on Earth too. So, and I did a lot of that before I flew, so I launched in pretty good shape and came home in good shape too, which is important.
yep. So you hear it at home. You hear it now. Eat your veggies.
Mom was right.
Next question.
Very. Go ahead.
If salmonella was found to be more aggressive or upregulated on the ISS, how might we be able to use this finding on planet Earth?
Well, what they're doing is working on a vaccine for salmonella and working on medicines associated with that. That was a completely surprising finding that some of these bacteria and organisms become stronger in space, and we don't know why. We don't know for sure if their biologic processes are more efficient in a microgravity environment, if maybe the radiation is somehow tweaking them up, just like you might see in cartoons or bad movies. We're not really sure, but that gives us the opportunity to research these things in a new way, in a new light that we did not expect to find. And so there's a lot of exciting things that are just starting to come out along those lines. So keep an eye on that.
Thank you.
The space shuttle seemed like an ultimate space vehicle. It could land like an airplane and glide, yet it also has rocket type capacity too. Why is it no longer in operation?
Oh boy, we could go on a long time about that. I was fortunate to fly 2 times on the space shuttle, and what an amazing flying machine it was because you're right, it's the stuff that's right out of science fiction, and it really was a beautiful, amazing flying machine. I think the reason we're not flying it is because as beautiful and as amazing as it was, it did have some design flaws, some things that were weaknesses in just the basic way that it was built and the way it was launched, and there were some weaknesses, particularly with the heat shield system. And we recognized that loss here just this week as we remembered the 10-year anniversary of the loss of Space Shuttle Columbia that had a damage to the heat shield that ended up destroying the shuttle and killing the 7 astronauts. And at that time, as we recovered from that accident, we realized that these design weaknesses were just they were really significant, and we needed to move on to the next generation of spacecraft. So they made the decision to stop flying the space shuttles at the point where we finished building the space station, and we hit that point a year and a half ago while I was on the space station. We saw Space Shuttle Atlantis come up for STS-135, and that was the last shuttle flight. It was sad to see it go for all of us, especially that flew on her and the tens of thousands of people across the country that worked on the space shuttle program through the years. But it was time to go ahead and move forward with a new vehicle that would be a little safer. No vehicle will have the kind of capability that the shuttle had, though, with a huge cargo bay and landing like an aircraft on a runway. What a remarkable capability that was. I'm excited and proud to have been part of it, but I look forward to the next vehicles that are coming along in the years ahead too, because we've got a lot of exciting times ahead.
We do, and I think also, not only we're wanting to expand, so we're wanting to go further and beyond low Earth orbit, and so it is going to take something else to get us there.
Absolutely.
So
The space shuttle, as cool as it was, would never go to the moon because at the moon you don't need wings and you don't need tires. Uh, and even Mars, that has a tiny bit of atmosphere, you would not have landing systems like the shuttle. So you need to use more of a capsule type of vehicle or a lander type of vehicle. So the shuttle was great for helping us build this magnificent space station, and its work is done. And so now we have to visit them in museums.
next question.
Okay. What type of maintenance needs to be performed on the ISS?
We have to maintain lots of different things inside. And just like you do at home, we have to do some little house cleaning. About once a week, we get out the vacuum cleaner and we clean, well, we don't really have carpets, but we clean the walls and even vacuum the computers and the air, like you have the air conditioners at home. Well, in space, those are even more important because they collect all of the dust gets caught in the air conditioner filters. And so we have to vacuum those up and keep the place clean. Um, as well as there's other things associated with just living and working up there. Just like you might have to do at the house where something breaks and it's time to change out the garbage disposal or work on a leak in the plumbing someplace and things like that. So we're doing those kind of things as normal maintenance and preventative maintenance, they call it too. We'll go through and we'll make sure that all the bolts are tight on the treadmill so that as we're pounding away on a treadmill in space, we're not shaking anything loose and then causing some damage. Every once in a while, we have to go outside and do some maintenance on things. We've changed out batteries that are part of our solar array electrical system outside. We've gone out to fix an ammonia leak that was part of the cooling system outside. Sonny Williams and Aki Hoshide went outside and did some work on that system a few months back. So it's always busy and active times.
It is, and a lot of this maintenance work, is essential because it's what enables us essentially to conduct all the research that we're doing, which is the main reason for going up there, using that International Space Station. It is a laboratory, and it's something you have to do, but it's all part of what enables us to continue that research.
Part of it's also a test bed, as
That's
we
right.
have systems that, for instance, that remove carbon dioxide from the air, because we don't get fresh air from outside. And we have to remove that carbon dioxide that we're breathing out all the time has to be removed from the air. And that system has caused us some trouble through the years. And so the engineers on the ground are trying to figure out what causes it to fail. And they're working on the next generation carbon dioxide removal equipment that won't take as much maintenance.
That's right.
And again, on the way to Mars someday or another planet, it's going to be important for you guys to have a system that you don't have to call home for spare parts because you can't call home
That's right.
or we can't deliver the spare parts to you.
That's a great question. Next one.
What was your favorite spacewalk and why?
Oh my, that's hard. That's really hard. I think probably my favorite one was my last one. I did a spacewalk in July of 2011, just over a year and a half ago, and that was while Space Shuttle Atlantis was docked to the space station. It was so cool. We took a broken pump module from the space station and we put it in the cargo bay of the shuttle, and we moved a new science experiment that came up in the shuttle's cargo bay up to the station where they've been doing that work up there. And it was so cool. For me, that was my seventh spacewalk. I've been outside almost around 48 hours working outside, and it was really so cool to me. I'd worked as an engineer on spacewalk procedures and tools and things when I was an engineer working at NASA. Then as an astronaut, I helped build the space station, and it was really neat for me on my last flight, while the shuttle was there for its very last flight, to be outside and be in the cargo bay of Space Shuttle Atlantis, and kind of a way of paying tribute to that amazing flying machine one more time, and just kind of got a lot of work done. But I also took a few minutes to enjoy the experience of the incredible view of the Earth and the stars from not looking through big thick glass windows, but through a little skinny fishbowl of a helmet.
And if you ever watched Fossum when he was working aboard the International Space Station, or anytime doing any of his space flights, I think it would be very difficult to determine which one was his favorite. Was it spacewalking or fixing the plumbing? Because he always looked like he was having a great time up there. That was a great question. Next one.
How were you able to communicate with your family while you were on
Oh,
space mission?
you bet. Communicating with my family was really important. We through kind of a link up with through computer systems and data systems, we can call people on a telephone. And so I would talk to my wife almost every single day. I'd have the chance to talk to my wife. We have four children, and some of them are out of the house, and so I didn't get to talk to each one of my kids every single day. But I tried to talk to them every week or so, and then every weekend I had a little video conference, about at least 15 minutes and usually longer, with my wife and one or more of my kids with her. And so that's how we kept in touch. We also had email, and it's not quick email like you're used to now. We certainly couldn't text message or anything that quickly, but we did send emails and stayed in touch. It's important.
What is the most promising research being conducted on the ISS?
Oh, cool. That one I have to think about for just a second. I think the health things that we were working on with bone health, we lose bone in space 10 times faster than an osteoporotic 80-year-old woman, which is pretty fast. And so if we don't take these countermeasures, and so I think it's really exciting to know that with really with good exercise and with some of the medications, and I was a guinea pig for a medicine that you can really stop this, you can halt this and control it. And that kind of thing's exciting. A lot of the other research that was going on had to do with material science, where we were loading samples in a furnace, and then while we're sleeping overnight, the ground is turning on that furnace and getting it so hot it melts the metal samples in there, and then cools them down in a certain way as they're learning how to build different compounds, as they don't get the same kind of mixing you get in gravity. There was also a really cool fluid dynamics experiment. It was like a fluid that had microscopic strands of plastic in it. They call them a polymer. And they were doing a dynamic test that I could see. In a lot of the science, we don't really get to see it happening. But this one, I was helping set it all up, and I'd get the sample in this test chamber, and then they would start to spin this little blob about the size of a bean inside there, and they would be twisting those microscopic plastic fibers, and then they stretched it. Now, this would form a really thin strand, and in
Kind of like
gravity, that strand
silly
just
putty, right?
like
The way
silly
that
putty,
if
but
you stretch it
really
slow.
thin. And in gravity, it would just collapse. But in the microgravity environment up there, they would pull this strand out 2 feet long, and they'd be able to measure the tension, the pull in there. And by doing that, they understand the basic physics of this kind of a special fluid. That's important for the petrochemical and plastic industries that use these kind of fluids in their production processes, and so they wanted to know more about exactly how this stuff works. And so that's fundamental science. I'm not sure what it'll be used for, but the research team on the ground was real excited about the science that we were able to accomplish. So it was cool to be part of that.
If you look up any of your materials
Oh
and look
yeah.
up polymers,
Oh yeah. There's lots of stuff on the
all kinds of
websites
things
about
they
the
could be
science we're
used
doing.
for. Absolutely. Great question. Do we have any more?
What what spacecraft replaced the shuttle?
Well, that's a tricky question. The shuttle had so many capabilities, no one spacecraft is going to replace the space shuttle. Right now, when I traveled to and from the space station, I traveled on a Russian Soyuz rocket launching out of a country called Kazakhstan on a place called Baikonur Cosmodrome. We launched from the same launch pad that Yuri Gagarin, the first human in space, launched from over 50 years ago. So it was pretty cool to be part of that historical program and be another person in there. We've had several different vehicles that are providing cargo to the space station. Japan has a cargo vehicle. The European Space Agency has a cargo vehicle. A private American company called Space Exploration has a cargo vehicle that's been there twice now. Other companies have cargo ships that are really close to flying. A company called Orbital has one that's very close to flying, hopefully in the next few months they'll get up there. These guys several of them are also working on human vehicles using kind of their cargo ship as the first step, and then developing that into a ship that could take people up there. Again, it won't replace the shuttle with a great big majestic spaceship with 7 people at a time. But we're working on those things. And inside NASA, we're working on other spacecraft that can go beyond the 200 miles that we'd go to the space station. So we're working, private companies are working on options to provide ways for people to get to and from low Earth orbit, as we call it. The space station is at that 200 to 250 miles in altitude. But the moon is a lot further away, and Mars is much further than that. And so we're working on another vehicle within NASA more that will be able to go further and support the exploration goals that NASA has for the years ahead.
And Amiko, this is NASA, the Digital Learning Network. Just want to let you know we have about 2 minutes left, so maybe one or possibly two questions.
Okay.
Okay, good job.
Great.
We're ready.
Go ahead.
How did you earn the NASA Exceptional Service Medal?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm proud to have been awarded that. It's one of the awards that are available for people that are just working hard and doing their job and kind of standing out. I was fortunate to be recognized for my contributions, and lots of great people, not just astronauts, but other the great people that work at NASA, get that award. So it's a great honor for me, and to share that honor with lots of other people. Okay, I think we can squeeze in one more.
Why did you find it necessary to construct a replacement for the Soyuz as an emergency escape vehicle?
Okay. Well, I worked on the X-38, and through the space station program, as this partnership has evolved, we've had lots of different countries and partner nations that are bringing different capabilities. And one of the things, an idea that we worked on here at NASA was called the X-38 as a crew escape vehicle. And it was something we tried out and went a ways with it, and then decided to move off in different directions. Since then, we're using the Russian Soyuz spacecraft to be our emergency escape vehicle. It's our ride up and our ride down, and we could use it. We could jump in there and leave at any moment. If there's a big problem on the space station, we could leave at any moment, and that's important. We have to have a way out. At the same time, we're working on, like I said, some of these other companies are working on other options that we could use on the space station besides just using the Russian Soyuz spacecraft. So we're learning as we go. We're trying out some ideas. Some of them are working out. Some of them we decide to step away from and try something else. Hey, you guys have had a bunch of great questions today. I think they're out of time and they're going to pull the plug on us. But thank you very much. Your questions are great. I can tell you've been doing your homework.
Which is half the battle.
You've been studying. You've been
Absolutely.
studying and getting and asking some really solid questions that show that you're getting a lot of good understanding of our business here. And I hope you can see where you might fit into this business in the years ahead. NASA is an exciting place to work. The human spaceflight business is just one of the greatest challenges and most exciting things that I can imagine doing. I'm excited to have been here, and I know Amiko and all the other people that work at Johnson Space Center are excited to be here, continuing to operate the space station from this room that we're sitting in right now in mission control, and getting ready to help operate the other vehicles in the future, and get ready for you guys.
Thanks. It was great
Thank
talking to
you.
you guys.
We'll get ready. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You bet. Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.